Before we begin, I must tell you one thing. If you do not believe in the heavenly books, if you don't believe in the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran, then you will never understand what I am about to say. Magic and the jinn are mentioned in all the holy scriptures, and my story is rooted in that reality. I am not here to tell you myths about vampires or zombies. I am here to tell you about the raw truth of African magic, and specifically the horrors of Arabian sorcery. Listen closely, because this is not a movie. This was my life. Deep within the forbidden records of history, there is mention of a rare human known as the Zuhri. They are born with sacred seals upon their flesh, a straight line cutting across the palm, a split tongue, or a piercing mystical gaze. To the underworld, these marks are a beacon, and their blood is the ultimate key to secrets long buried. In the eyes of the darkness, they are not just humans. They are the greatest prize. Do not just take my word for it. Go to Google and search for the Zuri yourself, and discover the truth behind the legend, if you dare to look deeper. This story is real. It is being published after obtaining approval from the owner of the story. Some of the satanic rituals mentioned in the story have been altered or erased, and some names of the jinn and their servants have been changed in order to preserve the safety of the viewers and followers. Our life is like a maze. One thing leads you to another, and every path you enter, you find it branched and divided. If you go as far as taking a wrong step in a wrong path, here you judge yourself with something very difficult, which could lead you to death. How many of us in their life have lost something dear to them, the thing in which he used to find himself and excel at, and the day he lost this thing, he found himself living a life without meaning, a life where yesterday looks like today, and what he lives tomorrow is always repeated. However, in some cases, we need to ask ourselves, was what we lost in our life good for us, or was it evil upon us? And if this thing had stayed, would it have been good, or would it have finished us off? I know that few of you understood this introduction and few pondered it. But I intentionally did not give you the head of the thread, because everything you will discover, you will know in today's story in full. That's why I didn't want to spoil the pleasure and suspense for you. I just wanted to tell you that today's story is a dangerous and real story. If you're ready to start the story now, all you have to do is go to a place that is tranquil, calm, be comfortable. Let no one disturb you, and don't forget to leave a like, as a favor, not an order. And with the blessing of God, we begin our story. My name is Suleiman, and my age currently is 30 years. From the day I was young, my life was not normal at all. I remember since my youth, I was living between two worlds, the world of humans and the world of jinn. Since my childhood, I knew myself that I was born Zuhri, and this is what the jinn I used to talk to and communicate with when I was young told me. I just want to tell you that I am a Zuhri person for real, not like many people who claim they are. Everyone started imagining himself as Zuhri, all of Morocco. Anyone who sees even something ordinary tells you I am a Zuhri human, but they don't know that the Zuhri human is someone very rare and few. And if the jinn were not communicating with you and talking to you, then don't say you are a Zuhri human. Anyway, let me finish my story for you. As I told you, since my childhood I used to talk to jinn and communicate with them, or rather, they were the ones who talked to me, although I don't remember exactly what their shape was like. What I remember is that I used to spend a long time playing with them, and listening to their stories. I used to hear them telling me about their world and their secrets. Add to this, I used to see even in my dreams, meaning I saw by day, and I saw even at night, and especially at the time when I put my head on the pillow. I used to see dreams and nightmares that I wasn't able to wake up from, and I always saw myself in a war with Jinn. Or I saw myself in a prison that was strange in shape and I was escaping from it. Sometimes I found myself in cemeteries escaping from dogs. And this thing started with me at the age of 6 years old. When we want to remember something that happened to us when we were young, we have to squeeze our brains, and we remember only the features of those memories. And this thing I told you, that I was communicating with Jinn, I didn't remember it clearly, only those features that I still have. However, one day, I dreamed a dream that was among many dreams. But this dream specifically, I will never forget. I was dreaming that I was tied to a bed like the ones in hospitals. I was tied to it. When I was looking at that room, it appeared to me like those operating rooms. It appeared very clearly to the point that you wouldn't say this is a dream, but rather reality. I was looking at the door and screaming for someone to save me. In that moment, the door opened, but no one entered to save me. Instead, a creature entered that was very strange. This creature was walking on 4 legs. He was very tall and had a small head. His belly was big, and his hands and feet were very long, more than natural, and thin. That creature, I remember, approached me and took a saw that was on the table. There. He started sawing my hand. I was only screaming with all my strength, but nothing. I wasn't able to escape. That pain and that burning, I was feeling it as if it were real, until a certain moment, and by the strength of the burning, those chains with which I was tied snapped. Only then was I able to escape. When I went out of that room, the wake-up hit me, and only then I woke up. But the surprise was that my hand was hurting me a lot, as if that thing had really happened to me. This was just a simple glimpse of those dreams, and honestly, the other details, I don't remember them well. Rather, as I told you at the beginning, it's just like clips. I understand those who might say I was just imagining matters because I was a small boy. I respect your hypothesis, but on one condition. Finish the story with me until the end so you know what I am talking about. Anyway, what was happening to me? I didn't used to tell it to anyone. I always heard my parents saying that jinn, devils, and magic are only backwardness and myths. Time started passing bit by bit, and I started growing up also bit by bit. And here, that communication of mine started to decrease. Except if I went to a seer, an empty place, a black shadow would appear to me crossing the road, or something would appear like a dog or a cat, but I was always sure that that was just a jinn watching me. With time, when it decreased a lot, I started feeling like something in my life was missing. Those memories started to be forgotten, and with time, that communication I had with the other world made me return obsessed. I wanted to try to bring back that communication, and bring it back with strength. And here is where I started reading in anything, small or large, horror stories, searching for Zuhriya, especially when the internet started appearing. I returned to exploiting my whole time to get closer to that world. Through reading books, but not any kind of books, but rather the books of magic that are very dangerous. I would enter the cyber, search for forums, talk to sorcerers, asking them for copies of magic books, searching for incantations and memorizing them. Between you and me, I had a very big curiosity. I was reading a lot and I never got bored. Although I was reading those books and trying to apply what was in them, nothing was working out. Nothing at all happened with me, and I wanted some fun. I wanted to see Jinn, but nothing happened. Matters kept going like this, almost until I reached the age of 23 years. At that time, I had become a person who had filled his head with a lot of information. You could say about me that I became someone obsessed with the other world. I tried the summoning of Jinn. I read Shams al-Ma'arif. I read black magic books more dangerous than that. And even with that, nothing. Of course, all this, I used to think that nothing was happening. But I didn't know that matters related to that world have another opinion. Any action done has its consequences, because all that I learned had consequences that were big and very dangerous. Anyway, one day, I was sitting with a friend of mine. We were watching a Moroccan movie. A moment in that movie, a shuwafa appeared, reading the lines of a girl's hand. My friend said, "Do you think this shuwafa really talks to Jinn?" In my innocence, I told him, "Yes, there are some shuwafas who are able to communicate with Jinn." My friend started talking to me with laughter and mockery. At that moment, he said, "Man, since these Jinn exist, why don't we look for some shuwafa to teach us how to talk to Jinn? And they show us how to hit the laqwa." My friend said this only in jest, but what he didn't know was that he told me an idea that, for me, was very good. The idea that would let me communicate with Jinn more than before, talk to them, and start using them. I didn't care about the money, I cared about communicating with Jinn. I said to myself, this is the meal, and this is the opportunity that will let me discover what are the abilities or the energy of this Zuhri human, meaning what I will be able to do. I started searching and researching, and asking from here and there about some shuwafa who would be able to open this door for me. After a long period, I was just by chance working in a charity work. There was with us a boy from the region there. He was the one who knew the people of that place well. The boy kept pointing out every house until he reached one house specifically. He said to us, "That house, a woman lives in it. If she gives you something to eat or something to drink, do not take it from her." In that moment, his talk felt strange. Why that house specifically? The boy answered, "Man, that woman has a very bad reputation. That woman is a shuwafa." The moment I heard that the woman was a shuwafa, I was very happy and excited. We helped her, and honestly, she looked like a very nice woman. I waited until some days passed, and I took the road to her. I went to her in hiding. I arrived at her place and knocked. That woman's name was Fatna. The moment she opened the door and saw me, she said, "What does the heart desire? What do you want?" I told her, "I have come so you read the line for me." Fatna told me, "It's impossible for me to read for you now. Today is Friday, and it is forbidden for me to work on Friday." I told her, "Fine, no problem, until tomorrow and I will return to you." The next day, the door was open. She called me, come in, my son, welcome." When I entered, I found her sitting, a mnyima lit, and arranged beside her 7 bottles of perfume. Those bottles didn't have musk in them. They had some perfumes that were strange, and whose smell, honestly, was the first time I had smelled. And she was putting behind her 7 flags. Every flag was in a color. I started recounting my story to her. I told her, "I want you to open the door to the other world for me." Fatna kept looking at me, and that request felt strange to her. She said, "Do you want them? They moved away from you. And thank God that they moved away from you and gave you space, and you are coming looking for them." Fatna, at first, mocked me. She said, "Come here first. Let's see your case first." Fatna started picking up those small bottles of perfume. She asked me, "What is your name and what is your mother's name?" She started tempt with some talk that was not understood. The moment she reached the 7th bottle, She suddenly snapped her head up. Looking with her eyes wide open, she said to me, "Are you crazy, man? Are you crazy? These ones who are with you are difficult and very difficult. They could kill you. What do you want with them? Since you were small and they have been following you, they want to finish you off. And it is only God who is protecting you." I told her, "Look, don't fear for me. Just release them. I want them." Fatna here said, "No." And that "no," she said it with a thick voice, as if some jinn in her was the one who said it. But I too. My head was hard. She said, "No, I am afraid for you. If I go as far as releasing them, they could finish you off." Fatna was refusing to help me. In the end, she said, "Return to me until tomorrow." Indeed, that's what I did. I kept going and coming to her more than 3 times. She was waiting for me to surrender, but nothing. The 4th time, she said, "Fine, okay, I will help you. Only, I will warn that this thing you will do now will open the door of the other world for you anew. And the very first ones who will communicate with you are among the most dangerous jinn, Basha Hamu, the Master of Red, and Mira, the Lady of Yellow." After Fatna said those 2 names, she lowered her head, and I saw her as if crying seized her. She started doing those rituals by which she would open the door for me, and they were rituals that were stranger than imagination. After she finished, she took a plastic bag, filled it with bikaur, and gave it to me. She said, "You will go to the cemetery at 12 at night, and you will go exactly between 2 graves, and you will light a fire, and you will throw this incense in it. After that, go to some empty place and light the end and light a green candle, and sleep in that place until the morning." That night, indeed, I went to a cemetery that was far from the city. I stayed sitting there until 12 at night struck. In that moment, I went between 2 graves and lit the fire. The moment I lit that fire, I felt a strange feeling, as if many people were surrounding me and watching me, as if all of them were silent and waiting for me only to throw that incense into the fire. I threw that incense into that fire and tabakat with it. After that, I went to an empty dari. I lit that and that green candle. Right after that, I slept there. I spent one of the worst nights that passed in my life. The time I slept in that shrine, I became like someone drugged. The last thing I remembered, I crawled into my sleeping bag to sleep. But what happened after that, God knows. Because afterward, I found myself sitting and leaning against the wall of the shrine. I was paralyzed in my place, neither able to talk, nor speak, nor move my hand. I was hearing interference inside the shrine to the point that I didn't know where that sound was coming from. I started seeing the walls as if that sound was coming out of them. Until a certain moment, I saw some people starting to enter. They sat in front of me and started talking to each other. Each one of them was wearing a color: green, red, blue, black, yellow, brown, purple, and all of them were wearing like a big crown on top of their heads. Until a certain moment, they would all turn at once and look at me. Their eyes were large and round and black. To this day, when I remember those eyes, a fear shivers me without me feeling it. Suddenly, I found myself in the middle of a place that resembles the markets, and wherever I lifted my head, I found ramparts like those of the old city. Those 7 people, I found them this time again standing over me. But this time, their faces were covered. They said, "You called us, and you are the one who wanted us here, but we must see if you, first of all, will be able to handle us." One of them, who was wearing white, lifted a staff and struck it against the ground. There is where I woke up. When I woke up, I was feeling a very big dizziness. I was sure that something in me had changed. What was coming would be difficult. I had opened the door to another world, a world that is all mystery upon mystery. Every place I started going to, I began seeing shadows moving. I returned to seeing animals on the threshold of the house. I started feeling that something inside me began to change for the worse. Until one day, a person appeared to me wearing red and very short. He only came to me and shook hands with me. All those questions I had, all that thing went away the time I shook hands with him. I fainted. When I woke up, I felt myself very tired. I found myself entering a whirlpool of depression. I no longer distinguished between morning and night. Life appeared to me like death. There was no difference. There. I started thinking to myself that if I wanted to escape from this whirlpool, then I must end my life. He didn't utter a single word. He just walked slowly toward me. His presence felt like a chilling, heavy shadow. When he reached out and shook my hand, everything vanished. The questions, the confusion, and the haunting strangeness of seeing him. It all dissolved the moment our hands touched, but it wasn't peace, it was an emptiness. Then the world went black. I fainted. When I finally woke up, I felt a crushing exhaustion. My body was a prison of lead. My legs felt so heavy that moving them was like pulling anchors from the deep sea. My mind was shattered, my spirit destroyed. I was spiraling down, and the days ahead were only going to get darker. As days bled into weeks, strange and haunting questions began to rot in my mind. Who am I? What am I doing in this vast, indifferent universe? These were thoughts I had never entertained before, yet now they consumed me. I spent endless hours locked in a pitch-black room, refusing to step into the light. Even when I did go out, paranoia followed me like a shadow. I felt every eye on the street was watching me, judging me, haunting me. I fell into a deep, dark pit of depression and nihilism. I lost my joy, my faith, and my connection to reality. I was a ghost walking among the living. The boundary between life and death faded until they looked the same. I reached a stage where I felt no pain, only a desperate need to cease existing. 4 times I tried to end my life. 4 times I stood on the threshold of the afterlife, and 4 times fate or a hidden hand pulled me back to this nightmare. My family was desperate. They saw me turning into a monster of silence. I had lost the meaning of living. I wasn't thinking about magic or jinns anymore. My only obsession was how to leave this world forever. My family finally took me to a psychiatrist who diagnosed me with acute bipolar disorder. He prescribed pills that turned my blood into a laboratory for chemicals. I swallowed every drug, every sedative, but my demons were immune to science. The doctor was baffled. His medicines brought no results. He didn't know that my sickness wasn't in my brain, but in my spirit. It was the mark of the Zuhri. The jinns who followed my blood were trying to destroy me, weaving a shroud while the world only saw a madman. We traveled to the coast, seeking the healing power of the ocean. My family hoped the waves would wash away my madness, but I was a hollow statue among them. One night, while sitting in a crowded cafe, a physical pull, stronger than any drug, tugged me toward a specific part of the city. I followed a phantom thread through the summer streets until I stood before an ancient shrine. The moment my eyes touched its walls, the fog in my head began to lift. I stepped inside the quiet sanctuary. It was empty except for an old man sitting by the back door. "Come in, my son," he said. I collapsed and cried until my tears soaked the floor. The old man sat beside me. "Do not fear," he whispered. "No magic can last in a Zuhri as strong as you. You endured this curse for 4 years. I froze. 4 years. My life had vanished into a black hole I didn't remember. He explained that many Zuhris perish at the start. Some end up in asylums, others in prison. but those who stay on God's path find a reward. He told me the spells were finally breaking, but I must prepare, for this was only the beginning. I realized then that my survival was a miracle, a testament to a strength I didn't know I possessed. The call to prayer echoed, and the man told me to go pray. As I knelt in the nearby mosque, I felt every chain breaking, every spell dissolving. I felt reborn, but when I returned to the shrine to thank him, he was gone. The doors were bolted shut. A stranger outside looked at me and said, "Son, this shrine has been closed for over 5 years for renovation. No soul has entered those doors since the old keeper died." I stood there stunned, but for the first time in 4 years, I smiled. I didn't care how he knew my secrets. I only knew that I had survived the first chapter of my hell. This is where the first part of my story ends, but my true tragedy is just beginning. You've seen my suffering, but you haven't seen my path yet. Soon, you will discover how I transformed from a victim into a practitioner of the craft. My dark journey into the world of sorcery, my ancient pacts with the jinn, and the terrifying isolations I endured in the shadows. This was only the prelude. The real nightmare starts in part 2.